The Galactic Council chamber had never been so silent. Ambassador Kithara's four eyes darted nervously across the assembled representatives, their bioluminescent patches flickering with barely contained panic. The holographic display showed the same devastating image that had haunted their dreams for weeks. The Devourer's fleet, a writhing mass of organic ships that consumed everything in their path, now only 3 systems away from the Council's heart worlds. Honored delegates, Kithara's voice cracked through the universal translator. We have exhausted every conventional option. The Zephyrian battle fleets were consumed in hours. The crystalline collective's energy shields lasted mere minutes against their bioweapons. Even the ancient Voidwalkers retreated to their dimensional rifts rather than face this threat. The massive Gorvak representative, Commander Thulmos, slammed his armored fist against the council table, causing several smaller delegates to scatter. Then we die with honor. Better extinction than what you're suggesting, Ambassador. What I'm suggesting, Kithara continued, her voice steadying with desperate resolve, is survival. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are unpredictable. But the humans have something we need. They specialize in impossible victories. A collective shudder ran through the chamber. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 50 standard years, but their reputation preceded them, like a stellar shockwave. They were the species that fought wars for concepts like freedom and justice. They were the ones who had somehow survived their own planet's attempt to kill them for millennia. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and most terrifyingly themselves. The ethereal delegate, whisper of ancient wines, materialized more solidly than usual, a sign of extreme agitation among her kind. The humans are chaotic. They make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. They fight battles they cannot win simply because they refuse to surrender. How can we trust such madness? Because, came a new voice from the chamber's entrance, that madness might be exactly what you need. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as Ambassador Sarah Chen walked into the chamber. Humans were still an oddity in galactic politics, bipedal, relatively small, with no natural armor or obvious evolutionary advantages. Yet every delegate felt their prey instincts activate as she approached the central podium. We received your transmission, Chen said, her voice calm but carrying an undertone that made several delegates unconsciously back away. The Devourers have consumed 17 civilizations in the past 3 months. Standard galactic doctrine suggests retreat to the outer rim and hope they move on. And what does human doctrine suggest? Kithara asked, though she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to hear the answer. Chen smiled, and somehow that expression was more terrifying than any threat. Human doctrine suggests we kill them all. The chamber erupted in shocked chirps, growls, and electronic whines. Commander Thulmos stood to his full 3-meter height. Impossible. They're a hive mind with perfect coordination, adaptive biotechnology, and ships that grow stronger by consuming their enemies. They're the apex predator of the galaxy. Were, Chen corrected. They were the apex predator. Now they've made a critical mistake. They've encountered humans. She activated her personal holo display, showing tactical readouts that made no sense to the assembled delegates. The data suggested not a retreat or defensive strategy, but an all-out assault on the Devourer fleet. You see, the thing about apex predators, Chen continued, is that they've never had to adapt to true adversity. They've grown complacent in their dominance. But humans? We've been fighting impossible odds since we first stood upright on the African savanna. We've been prey and predator in equal measure. We've fought ice ages, supervolcanoes, and each other. We've learned something the Devourers never had to: how to win when you should lose. Whisper of ancient wines flickered with uncertainty. What do you propose? Simple, Chen said, and her smile widened. We give the Devourers exactly what they want. We feed them. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Kithara found her voice. I don't understand. The Devourers consume organic matter and technology to grow stronger. They expect their prey to run, to hide, to fight defensively. But what if we gave them a feast so tempting, so perfectly engineered to their tastes, that they couldn't resist? What if we fed them something that would destroy them from the inside out? Chen's eyes gleamed with something that several delegates recognized as the look of an apex predator that had just spotted wounded prey. Humans have been creating biological weapons and technological viruses since before we reached the stars. We've been preparing for wars with ourselves for so long that fighting someone else is almost refreshing. The horrifying beauty of the human plan became clear. Not a battle, but a trap. Not resistance, but invitation. They would offer the devourers a poisoned feast, ships and stations filled with corrupted organic matter and infected technology that would tear the hive. Mind apart from within? This is madness, whispered Commander Thulmos. Yes, Chen agreed cheerfully. It's completely insane, tactically impossible, and morally questionable. It's exactly the kind of plan that no rational species would ever attempt. She paused, her expression growing serious. Which is precisely why it will work. 3 days later, as the first devourer ships began to convulse and turn on each other, their bioships writhing in agony as human-engineered viruses rewrote their genetic code, the Galactic Council learned a valuable lesson about their newest members. Sometimes the most dangerous species in the galaxy was exactly what you needed on your side. The humans had answered their call, and the universe would never be quite the same.